Hello and welcome to Unread Books. Last episode was pretty depressing, wasn't it? I was showing 3 books about the topic of death and left a kind of sad feeling. And so this time I'm going to talk about 3 books about a topic that will bring me in a good mood. 3 books about... Well, let's start with the first one, and then you tell me if these books fit together perfectly. Cheap Laffs is a book about the art of the novelty item, and I think most people are aware of pin cushions. I wanted to say, seeing that most people are aware of things like what are the names for all these things? Whoopee cushion is a good thing. This horrible image is of fake vomit and things like that. And of course, ink splotches and stuff like that. The mysterious thing about novelty items is I'm never quite sure where I could get some if I needed some. It's not like balloons where I can go to a supermarket anytime, buy some balloons to have a little party. Where do I go when I want to buy a whoopee cushion? I'm not really sure. This seems to be the patent of the joy buzzer. And you see, this book is more than just a fun little connection. It's like a little history of prankster tools and fun stuff to do different things. I would consider myself a fan of those things, although I've never been really in contact with them since my childhood. I've never been pranked with something like that. And in today's world of the internet and of Instagram and so on, I think these classical pranks are not really popular anymore. Instead, you tell people that their husband has been kidnapped or that they have cancer or something, and then you film them reacting and starting to cry. Things like that. Hilarious. Yeah, but like X-ray glasses, is that really a glass used for that? Or sneezing powder. I'm sorry. In the old country, these things have different names. I hope I'm using the right names for these. There are some companies famous for the stuff. Probably somebody even invented sneezing powder. I don't know who did. Maybe we can learn it from this book. But this book explains these jokes, shows a picture of... That's a horrible picture. Can we choose a different picture? Shows a picture of the item itself. I think that the design of these items never changed, right? These were invented in the 1930s and 40s, became popular, and they still look the same way. Why change a thing that's perfect in itself? There's a little background information, how big it is, the slogan it was sold by, instructions to do, notes about it. And what I really like is there's a little advertising in the corner here, because yes, the advertising is what I'm most familiar with. Reading comics from a certain era, looking at children's magazines when I was young, I often saw these little ads and was of course very, very curious. Keep that in mind for book number 2, okay? Some of these things I think have become real classics, like big glasses, right? That's still good for a laugh. A beatnik beard. Today it would be just called a beard, and nobody remembers what a beatnik is. But that's a nice little time capsule as well, right? When was that published? Doesn't say date of manufacture, 1960s. Yeah, of course. In the 1960s, beatniks had become like a meme, and in the 50s they were still cool. Actually inventing the word cool, or at least it was invented to describe them, or whatever. Some things I don't recognize. I mean, I definitely recognize something like this I think the concept of a nail through your finger or an arrow through your head was brought back in the 80s by Steve Martin. And this still exists, of course. But what about the crying towel? It absorbs all troubles. I've never heard about that. And this shows what I really love about these old things. I don't know who drew these drawings, but I remember them looking exactly like that, like not a child, but an amateur drew the designs. That wasn't a graphic designer. Who this, yes, maybe, but things like that. I saw that on itching powder and fake dog poo boxes and stuff like that. And it looks a bit scary, it looks a bit spooky, but it was supposed to be funny, and I love that. I would never buy these things in a modern packaging, in a modern design. I would definitely buy anything that comes in these classical packages and so on. Itch powder, that's what it's called. Is that actually the German name for it? Juckpulver. Was it invented in Germany? Samuel Sørensen, originator. I don't know, but okay. I learned something new. The Snappy Bubble Dancer. Things like that. The ink bottle and ink spot. It reminds me of a text written by Woody Allen. If you are a fan of his films, you should definitely check out his books that came out, I think, in the 1960s as well. Is that possible? Or 70s? Anyway, after he had success as a stand-up comedian and made films, he wrote books, and there was a text about the philosophical background of the ink bottle and the long suffering way that the inventor of the metal ink blot went through, and how these funny things were invented. That's a really, really good story, among a lot of great stories by Woody Allen. Yeah. That's what this book is. It's a trip down memory lane. You can remember the things that existed, or you learn about them for the first time. And yes, it really raises my wish to own some of these things. I had this as a child, and I remember that I ripped off the big part because my mouth was too small, and I could actually whistle with that, but I didn't know that it was called a voice thrower or something. With a lot of these things, you have the what the moment, because you wonder what's the fun with some of these things, and it makes me wonder who bought this, what did they try to achieve, and what did they achieve? Because most of these things were used at parties, I presume, and parties for a long time were really like a big social event. So it wasn't really like today, where you can just come in and sit down. I think today young people wouldn't want novelty items like these, because people would consider them uncool if they came in and said, "Hey, look here, I've got some funny certificate, about the Order of Belchers." Isn't that funny? Or somebody wore this. I think in the 80s, in some slasher movies, things like these were worn to show the uncool kids and make sure that they were killed the first and things like that. And thank you very much for this ending of the whole thing. All in all, this is quite a wonderfully made hardcover book, and a fitting way to commemorate the days of these innocent pleasures and this innocent kind of fun. The next book looks similar. It's also hardcover, and it even has some nice texture on it. I'm not sure. It Could be that it glows in the dark or something. This book is a good companion piece to the other one. This is not about novelty items as such, but about things that the companies probably who invented these novelty items wanted to sell to children. And this can give you an idea. If you opened a comic book in the 1960s, I suppose, 50s probably, 70s, yes, and 80s not so much, but a little bit. If you opened that, you saw advertising for a lot of interesting things, like kung fu courses, or a hypnotizer, or hypnotizing records, like a Hercules wrist armband that could make you stronger. Ghosts, you could mail order ghosts, believe it or not, or of course the always popular X-ray specs. At least in the old country where I live, the Rackle Welch pillow wasn't offered, but I'm sure that at a certain age I would have loved to have a pillow in the form of a beautiful woman, expecting it to be a real replacement or substitute for the original. And that's the point of the whole book, right? Nobody had the money to order these things, and as soon as you had enough money, you were old enough to realize, probably it's all fraud, it's all stupid what you get. And this book took upon itself to order these things and compare the ad with the real thing that they receive. I'm quite surprised how this works out. If somebody collected these things from people who actually ordered them in those bygone days, or if these things are still on offer, if you can still buy a Rackle Welch pillow in the year 2021, would be interesting. But okay, let's have a look. The X-ray specs. Yeah, you cannot do much in a book, of course, to show what the real thing looks like. The real thing looks like this thing, right? That's it, and that's how it was offered in the books. But you can, of course, write something about, did it work? Did it actually work? And of course, it didn't. I think what these things did was just to show you two pictures in a little distorted way, and at the point where these pictures were overlapping, you saw them bigger, and so it had a slight effect of an X-ray thing, if you looked at a hand or something like that. Yeah, some more about these glasses. Hypno coins, ventriloquist dummies. I mean, these things look fine, right? If you ordered something like this for $2.95 and got something like this, could have been nice, right? I'm sure they didn't work really like professional ventriloquist dolls, but maybe good enough to do something like that. Guitar courses. It tells you what these courses taught you for the few days that you could get them. The Archie Club stuff and the world's deadliest fighting secrets. Here you see what the book looked like. You get a book about the secrets of fighting, probably in the 70s when Bruce Lee was a thing. Whoever Count Dante was, he was probably even better than Bruce Lee, I suppose. And you get a little booklet, right? Not really a book, but a little brochure or something like that. That's the Hercules wristband. You know, it was probably made of what do you call that? Artificial leatherette, black art, things like that. The Charles Atlas fitness program. I'm sure that the world to get sand kicked in your face derives from this thing. And if you're a fan of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, you know that Charles Atlas is something to be admired, somebody to strive up to be. And here's what you got if you ordered the course. And I don't know if many people turned from a wimp to a man, or from a man out of a mech. Was mech really a word for wimps in those days? I don't know. Muscles of steel. Yes, piece of rubber that could help you to get muscles. I mean, it works, I suppose. Jiu-jitsu courses, Ketsugo, kryptonite rocks, and the way they looked. I mean, as long as Superman wasn't there, you could never check out if they really worked, but I'm sure they did. As you can see, the book is divided into special parts, like superpower, special abilities, war zones, House of Horrors. I'm looking forward to that. Better living through mail orders. It's quite extensive, and I like the layout. You know, it never becomes boring. You have these sometimes big pictures of the ad and the the picture of the soldiers you got, or you got big pictures of the product and smaller pictures of how they were advertised. I was a big fan of these toy soldiers, by the way, but I never received these, and I would have been disappointed because I was used to the good and really three-dimensional soldiers I got in those days. I would have loved to... No, not I would have, no, but I would love to have those today. You know, because like soldiers and so on, yeah, fair enough. But to have plastic pictures of little dancing girls and clowns and so on. There's so many things I could do with them today. I mean, they show here how that was sent. So I'm really sure that these things are not sold anymore, especially not for this price. But they found people who still had that and probably turned it in a museum. Or there was some prophetic guy who collected that in his childhood and still has it today. Bless him if he does. Otherwise, if you have a company that has the rights to produce these things, look at this great Polaris nuclear sub for $7, which must have been a lot of money in those days. Create it today, right? Make that today, and you have me as a customer, definitely. Monsters. I was very much into monsters. I remember these pictures, and nothing wrong with that, right? A life-size picture like that. Today, I would love that. Yeah, with all the movie monster stand-ups and cardboard stuff and so on. The classic poster like that would melt my heart and make my life complete. The ghosts are great, right? You could get a ghost for 95 cents, and that's what the ghost looked like, actually. But it had obviously some interesting information of how to use the ghost usefully. The giant moon monster, that was also... I mean, to advertise a moon monster, and it's a 6 feet tall moon monster, and you send in your however much money you send in, and you expect to get a moon monster. No, but what you get is a poster, and a black and white one at that. That could be a downer. Oh, I remember that. Soil from Dracula's castle. Even today, I would love that. Although I know enough about the historical count today that I would probably pretty bored if somebody told me something about that. But as a child thinking about this, there's people going to the real vampire's castle by day to be safe from the vampire, collecting some dirt and putting it into these coffin-shaped pendants. That would really... I would have felt honored to own something like this. Horror records, I simply love them. That's really like ambient sound for me to have old Halloween records. Some of these were also like narrated by Boris Karloff and things like that. Yeah, as you can see, I'm a pretty big horror fan, and these, believe it or not, these masks are fine with me. If I had seen those pictures before, I would have expected differently, and I would have been disappointed as a child to receive those. Today, though, I would say these are more scary than good-looking ape heads would be. So, yeah, send them to me. I will wear them for Halloween. This mask I have actually as a t-shirt, not this mask, but the advertising for this mask I have as a t-shirt, just like this one. And I think she was really, really beautiful, the vampire girl. You know, the idea of having my girlfriend wear that mask while we get romantic and so on. But then what arrives is this. There's something to be desired here. You know, this looks like really the burn victim variation of this poor little girl. But in general, these masks are fine. And I know that some mask companies still creates masks, I think inspired by these original ads, but they look very, very good today. They look really like this and not like this. Yeah, this book is somehow an interesting philosophical book about expectation and fulfillment, about, here's the Raquel Welch pillow. Well, it seems to be a pillow, and there's a picture of Raquel Welch on it. I would have expected really Raquel Welch in pillow form, live-like, but yeah, that's what you get. Yeah, it's a philosophical piece about expectations, fulfillment, about disappointment and how to deal with it. And in today's world, I think we are pretty much protected from such disappointments because in at least the Western world, we have laws against fake advertising. But I'm happy to say that Wish.com and AliExpress seem to bring back the thrill of not knowing what to get, what to expect. I receive commercial clips on, I think, YouTube and in between some of my games that advertise really good-looking masks, for example, for like $20. And it's difficult to find YouTube videos which do the same thing that this book does, ordering this stuff, really. But the few I have seen confirm that the masks you get are trash and that what's advertised has nothing to do with what you really get. Still, I sometimes see these masks that I really like, and one day I will spend $20 ordering a mask that looks amazing in the commercial, knowing well that what I receive will be a disappointment. And of course I should turn it into a video like this, you know, then I'm a great influencer, and just like any kind of sadistic prank is considered a social experiment today, I can then excuse myself for spending so much money on trash, for saying, oh, I want to educate the masses. The last book today, connected with the others we just had, is a book that surprised me very much. It's about rag toys. And if you don't know what that is, that's probably because I don't know if they exist anymore. In the past, when we still had small shops, and I mean shops like not really the granny and grandpa shop next door that sold little nice things. No, I mean these shops that are just big enough not to be in personal contact with everybody, but to allow a lot of children from the neighborhood to come in all the time. And they all bought one cheap ice cream cone or a bag full of sweets for a cent. Yeah, in those kind of shops, they had toys. And I think you could say they are just as cheap and bad as the thing in the mail order mysteries book just a moment ago. They were usually hanging in there. But they are honest, aren't they? Because you could see exactly what you were about to get. And although some of the toys like these, some of them looked fine, you know, looked nice, and when you open them you saw, oh, they are really hollow. You learned after one or two such purchases to estimate the weight, for example, of this. I think some of those, these are things you throw in the air and they come down as parachuters, and I enjoyed them. the little color there was gone after 2 or 3 uses, usually because we threw them around and kicked them around, and we didn't take much care of our toys. Just like these water pistols, they were good, I think, for running around one evening while the sun was slowly settling down in the summer, and you were shooting at your friends with that. One friend was always there whose pistol didn't work. And you had great fun. Of course, you were disappointed that the next 3 evenings these things didn't work anymore. Or they broke, or somebody came and stepped on them if you didn't give him money or whatever, and then you got into a fight or something. But this one evening, you had a new thing that you bought with your own money, because these things were really, really affordable. You didn't have to go like with Nerf guns today. Is there any like 6-year-old who can go and buy a Nerf gun? And that said, is there any 6-year-old who can go to a shop and buy like a gun, handcuffs, and a badge? And these things don't exist. And if they exist, maybe they are just as cheap. Oh, a Spider-Man bowling game. How cool is that? No, but today I think most of these toys are made for what children, for collectors and whatever. The age of cheap toys, I think it should be there, right? How much plastic is produced in China? A lot, I would presume. And I'm sure in a lot of countries you still can buy stuff like this, but at Toys R Us, for example, I think you don't see stuff that cheap. They wouldn't sell that because they knew people would come back and say, "Oh, what did you sell my child here? That's first it's racist, because it's Tarzan, and then it's no good." Here we are in the horror corner. I appreciate the fact that we have good and expensive models of classical monsters today, buying them for, I don't know, $100 or whatever, like big, I don't know, McFarlane figures and so on. But I miss the days when you could buy like a Frankenstein. Mind you, that was called a Frankenstein, not a creature of Frankenstein, for just a few cents or whatever. And these packages, I remember stuff like that standing there on the counter and me trying to grab into it, looking for my favorite monster. Yes, and to go home and have bought it. There was dignity in the fact that you, as a 6-year-old, could go somewhere with $1 in your pocket and come home a rich man, having bought like a rubber skeleton plus a glow-in-the-dark Frankenstein. And I forgot that was in the book. These things were sold in the old country where I lived, and I remember them, and I still have them somewhere. That's a very common sentence, right? I still have that somewhere. Most people who say that sentence don't have it somewhere, I want to claim. I remember those as well. They usually just say, and of course they threw it away as soon as puberty hit, and they had different interests. Fools, I say, fools! I actually kept a lot of the stuff, but actually not a lot of this cheap stuff. And of course, this is really cool if you own these things in the original packaging. I must say, yes, I was a big fan of the Star Wars figures, of the Kenner toys of the 70s and 80s. And yes, I kept a lot of these cardboard backgrounds. I wanted to sell them when eBay came up. I didn't for some reason. Am I happy about it? I don't know. They have become such a fad, such a trend, that they are not that valuable in my eyes. Not even remembering that they were part of my old childhood, and I spent most of my childhood playing with them. But these things, I mean, what is that? Laverne and Shirley. That's a TV show. I would love to have something like that. not knowing what the show was about, but that this show was popular enough that some plastic producer thought, yeah, we can make some plastic stuff, put it in there, and little girls will buy it. These things are magical to me. Mr. Smith, Money said. Who's Mr. Smith? I have no idea. Airwolf, I remember, but I think you had to have something that was cool enough at the moment, like Knight Rider and Baywatch, to make cheap color me stickers. So stickers you could color yourself of David Hasselhoff. But the big franchises like Star Wars and so on, they never had, I think, stuff like that. Yeah, I saw Star Trek stuff and so on. But I think the really big franchises, especially today, none of these companies would have enough money to get the license for these things. That's why you have a lot of unlicensed or fake licensed products today about stuff like that. And I wonder if some of the things I have kept from my childhood of non-licensed pirated Star Wars or Star Marauders, I think that's they were called, toys, if they would be interesting as a video. Maybe this channel shouldn't be called Unread Books. It should be called Stuff I Have, which would make just as much sense. Anyway, yeah, that came as a surprise to me because I really thought we have a point where there's something so worthless, so trivial, that nobody would ever be interested in it. But, as it turns out, somebody was interested enough to print a colored, high-gloss paper book about this. And God bless him for that. I'm very happy that this book exists because it's just as precious and valuable to me as the other of these books. And these books bring a smile to my face. Not a cynical smile about, oh, gee, what trash people were buying. No, an honest and real smile about the innocence of the world, the innocence even of fraudulent attempts to sell stuff to children, and the dignity that it meant to create wishes to inspire children with the idea of X-ray glasses for 20 cents or whatever, the innocence of a fart joke that you could put under somebody's chair or whatever, and the innocence of an honest plastic product, affordable for 6-year-olds who could go home and say, this is what I bought and I will do the lawn mowing next week so I can buy more of this stuff. Bless the producers of these products and bless the guys who made books about it.